the next in the games coming afterwards. Bans are in. Alutemu out is down a Demon Hunter, which I think we find a little bit surprising.
Yeah.
As you said, given that the Priest feels like a pretty good spot against the Demon Hunter. And then the Warrior for Shaxy.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like the Priest was brought there specifically as a counter for Demon Hunter. I wonder now if Shaxy wants to run this into, say, the Druid matchup, or if he just has a different opinion on Priest versus Rogue than we have.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about Priest versus the Druid matchup. I guess it's got a lot of stall in addition to all the removal. And now that the Kael'thas has been removed from the list for Alutemu, then it can't do the quite same explosive early game things that the Priest can't overcome. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup. In terms of the first decks that can be thrown down, given that neither player have Demon Hunter now, do you think that it's going to be, I don't know, Rogue for both sides? Because it's just kind of a jack of all trades deck?
It's tough to say because this Warrior from Alutemu is the first time we're seeing that on stream this weekend, despite it being brought by universally almost, and I think by everyone in the top 8. It's not earned a ban this time. So maybe Alutemu is thinking this is the time to let it shine. I do think the Warrior has a great matchup against Rogue. And against Druid, though, it's maybe not as good as before with the Brawls and Blade Storms, but still has the Risky Skipper package.
Well, we can take a look, I believe, at the Warrior right now to see what AlliTeemu has brought to the table. I think it's just a fairly standard Egg Warrior that we can see here. The only real difference for the players was whether or not they went for the Egg version with Terran Gorefiend, or whether they went for just the kind of full-on pain version of the Warrior, as it's been dubbed, I believe, with, 2 Tolvirs, doubling down on the Korkrons and all that stuff as well in favor of the Eggs. I think that this is a pretty strong deck to be left up. It's a deck that, unfortunately, we practiced a lot of, but haven't really been able to see too much of so far this weekend, because it turns out it's too powerful, and it's just been banned away every time.
Yeah, and for anybody that's only been watching APAC, I don't know if there's anyone that does that and haven't seen the broadcasts on Americas and Europe last week, this was the Warrior that they were running over in the West most of the time, whereas APAC had a bunch of the bomb package. And this one instead tends to take advantage of the copying effects with Bloodsworn Mercenary, and also just battle rages for 1 billion cards, which all the Warriors these days do, I'm told.
Oh yes, no matter what version of Warrior you're playing, Control, Bomb, Aggro, Egg, whatever, you're relying on the power of Ankar, Risky Skipper, and drawing your entire deck. This version, I think, is a little bit easier to pilot with the Serpent Eggs in there. Overall, I would say, because you have a little bit more of an obvious mid to early game plan you can go for. You play the Eggs, you try and buff them up, copy them, or destroy them with Terran Gorefiend. Whereas with the version that does not run the Eggs, I feel like it can be a little bit more difficult to kind of find your game plan overall. How are you actually winning the game? Are you going for an OTK with Korkrons? Are you trying to make big Blood Boil Brutes? It's something that I personally at least struggle with realizing quite a bit. But the Egg version here, I think Alutemu, when he decides to play it, should be very confident with his game plan.
For sure. But it will not actually be the Warrior for this first game. I do believe it's going to be Druid versus Priest. And speaking of the Priest, though, among Shaxy's lineup, I think that's the one that has a good chance against the Warrior, more so than the Rogue at least. Because if you think about the Warrior clears, they're very dependent on the Risky Skipper package, but when Priest is suddenly running minions with 6 health and upwards, maybe that's just a little bit too much for the Skipper to deal with.
So starting hand for Shaxy, let's just look at an obvious card in Breath of the Infinite. Is that a card you keep because of the power of the 2/2s that the Druid can throw down, or are you looking for more proactive stuff?
I think it's a keep. I also think Vargoth is a keep, but this Mass Resurrection keep is astonishing to me. Did you see a glitch on the mulligan, or is that just... It was a full keep,
I think he just kept it.
Yeah.
I mean, with Vargoth, it's clearly one of the most powerful plays you can... Well, it's clearly the most powerful play you can make on turn 9, but we're clearly quite a long way away from turn 9.
Very true. Maybe if Shaxy's version had like the double escape mana saber we were seeing from some of the decks last week in the other regions, but that's not a thing. So I think if you're looking for powerful things to do with the Vargoth, I think Grave Runes is your number one thing you're looking for.
I agree.
Not sure about that. In Alutemu's case, though, he's had a whole bunch of draw, is now able to coin into ramp, but not quite with the good stuff to ramp into just yet.
Oh, I put all spells in my deck and I only drew spells. Gah, how unlucky.
Oh, that's a good spell.
That's a good spell. I take it all back.
However, given that Shaxy's done a full keep, I think that Alutemu would be hesitant to just throw down a Glowfly without at least buffing it or playing Soul of the Forest. But over it, that against Vargoth, buffing the Glowflies is pretty much like not buffing them at all because they got to double up on the AoE.
Yeah, I really like holding off here. The kind of the levels of thoughts I was thinking was right. Killing Vargoth is not often that good because they have the Psychopomp that can res it back. But if you don't kill it, it's on the board anyway, so it's good to kill it. And then next turn, if it doesn't come back, you have Glowfly plus Power of the World, which survives Holy Nova and Breath of the Infinite, which I think gives you a much, much higher chance of winning. But with Psychopomp off the top for Shaxy, that plan goes out the window. Gone. Done.
I was about to everything you said, and I still agree with it, but then, what a talk. You know what? I'm just gonna choose to disagree. That was terrible there. You should have just played the Glowfly because you always play around the Psychopomp. No, but okay, for real, what does Alutemu do now? Ended all of his removal. Are we getting to the point where he just has to say, you don't have the AoE?
Okay. There's two lines here. Number one, absolutely, say you don't have the AoE. That is, I think, a valid thing to consider. Number two, with the Wild Growth being picked up, he could go for ramp this turn. Oh no, and then if he goes for Glowfly Soul of the Forest, it still just dies to double AoE, right? Because it goes again at the end of the turn.
Everything, even the Glowfly double Power of the Wild, if you ramp into that, that's also just dead. And if he goes for Glowfly without any buffs, Shaxy's discovered a Holy Ripple.
Yeah,
that's
you know what? I think it's time to just go Glowfly, Power of the Wild, and then maybe Moonfire to take out the 3-1.
Just say he doesn't have it. I'm on board for that.
AlliTeemu knows he has it. Like, he's gearing up for this. There were 2 cards kept in the starting hands. He knows exactly what is about to happen.
I'm a little bit appalled by the fact that this happened despite one of the kept cards being Mass Resurrect.
True,
it just
that is not
hurts
allowed.
me a little on the inside. Oh man. So Alutemu is not going for the Power of the Wild, which makes sense because if there's one AoE, there's 2. But now, because of the Holy Ripple Discover, Shaxy doesn't expend one of his natural AoEs from the deck.
Yeah, you just ripple.
Oh, it's so gross, Derek! Can't look. Okay, that's something.
Yeah, that was disgusting. It's a good card to find. We could see how many cards are in hand? 9. So Moonfire first, and then Fungal Fortunes, and then see where you're at.
Here's my question though. What if he's looking to get specifically Wrath or the second Bog Beam to clear off the Vargoth? So would you ever start with Bog Beam instead of Moonfire onto the Vargoth so that you save the Moonfire for the Reborn?
Sure, let's try that.
Okay, Alutemu is going for it. Recognize this is the biggest threat in the deck. Oh no, disaster! Disaster!
Okay.
Sad.
The plan is ramp to 10 with Overgrowth or Wild Growth. Guess it doesn't matter.
I think it's
then you draw
right? It's the
Innovate.
One.
Sure, okay, go for that. And then you Innovate, you draw Innovate off the top, and you go Glowfly, Soul of the Forest, Innovate, Power of the Wild.
Okay. Sure, that actually lives through a single Holy Nova or a single Breath of the Infinite.
Yes.
Well,
I
most
think
of them
it's like the only out. Oof.
I mean, from Alutemu's perspective, maybe there's still an out to try and remove the Vargoth. There's then just a billion Mass Resurrects.
Okay,
The one that the Vargoth casts too.
Ysera is plan B, and it probably is better, so it becomes plan A. The
Okay.
Glowfly is now plan B.
So just Ysera, hope for a bunch of Deathwings.
Yep, that sounds good to me. Or maybe even like the, I don't know, taunts? 7/7 taunt? I don't know, something impressive at the very least.
Maybe the evasive worms, because they have Divine Shield.
Oh,
We can survive a Soul Mirror? I don't know.
he just buffed it to 5 attack cheer.
Okay, it would have died to... Oh, no, sorry, that's scheme, not words. But, oh man,
Yes.
This is gross, Dara. This is so gross. Look, the Mass Resurrect that he kept doesn't even revive anything, because he's just that far ahead.
Incorrect.
Okay.
It revives one Vargoth,
Fine. Yeah.
which
True,
in turn
true.
revives another Vargoth.
Oh my god. That is incorrect, but I will say it's inconsequential.
The best kind of correct.
Okay, what are we looking at for Alutemu's counters to Priest?
Is he really
He's
wow, he's actually not going with the death.
really?
I guess just really afraid of the dragons that could come on?
Maybe, or exactly Mount Seller into stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know, it just seemed pretty good to push 10 there.
Yeah, I think I agree actually. Oh, of course it would cast again, so it would kill off one of his own guys with the Vargoth. Okay, okay, that does make sense.
Okay,
It would kill off his own Water Bearer.
fair enough. Okay,
Well, there's the Innovate.
that's a Ysera and another Ysera. Cute. So he could go for Glowfly Soul now? Maybe it's committing too many resources, but all of the draw is awkward because he has too full of a hand.
Oh, but you're making your all-in turn going into turn 9. It's the perfect play into Plague of Death. Like, you're making it so easy for the priest.
But then you still have the dragons in the deck, and then you just make room to just refill with Overflow. I guess the refill now is exactly Mount Seller, but there's only one left in the deck because one got overdrawn, right?
Okay. So the thinking here is if they don't have it, then maybe I just win. If they do have it, then I draw through my deck and I hit a bunch of dragons.
Yes, that's what I think at least.
Sure. I'm on board. And at the very least, if the priest does have to clear the board here, at least destroys everything they've been setting up for the last few turns.
Mm-hmm. So, given that, does Shaxy have any other options that don't involve Plague of Death? Is there some type of way to manipulate Mass Resurrect into giving several card toots? I don't
Yeah, that's
see
what
it.
I'm looking at. Because at the moment, only 3 different minions have died, right? It's been one Vargoth, one Psycho... Oh, sorry, only 2 so far. Vargoth and Psychopomp.
Correct.
And so if you trade in the Cartut, and then you could play Mass Res, and then trade in the rest of your minions. Maybe.
Oh, with this face attack,
Yeah.
seems to just be taking the more sure play, which I think makes sense because on average you're not expecting that many dragons on this board, and it's much better to play the Mass Resurrect against a few minions versus the whole wide board.
Agreed. But now we got to see what Ysera is dreaming up. A Scale Lord. Okay.
Primordial isn't so good.
Not amazing so far.
Aeon Reaver not great. Where are the Deathwings? Oh, Skeletal
That's
Dragon
good.
is insane.
That's good.
Yeah, that's value. So now AlliTemu's got to dump 2 cards from the hand. Make room for the draw and the Skeletal.
Oh, yeah. Well, Laughing Sister
And
is a nice way to get some stuff down.
maybe just the Moonfire as well. Or... Yeah.
I'm fine with Moonfire Face. Or you could just accept one overdraw. It's not the end of the world. You've drawn most of the good cards.
What about
I guess it
overdrawing
can be
into
a
a portal, though? Does that...
Yeah. Ooh!
Whoa!
Waxadred?
That is nuts. Is it not?
Right? It can be silenced, I suppose, with a Plague of Death, but if it's not hit with that, that means that AlliTeemu could potentially just go almost infinitely into Fatigue.
Oh, please don't let it come to that. But yeah, in theory, it can just beat Elysiana at her own game, given that the priest doesn't draw more than 1 card per turn, but that is still a ways off. Shaxy has the Mass Res into Mass Res if he gets the Vargoth. And he doesn't, though. Oh my goodness.
Things are starting to go right for AlliTeemu. It might be happening.
Yeah. And if you're AlliTeemu, I guess it's good to get the Waxadred down ASAP. But is the board getting wider than this?
Sure.
I mean, he could go like Waxadred, Power, Savage Roar, but the Roar doesn't seem particularly good here because he has to run 2 attacks.
Oh, this is such a difficult turn. You could start with Power of the Wild just to get a big board buff. It makes your trades a little bit easier. But you kind of want to save that to go for another board with the Mount Seller.
Yeah, I think that the way the damage breakpoints work, the 3 damage spells are the same as the 1 damage spells.
Sure, yeah.
Because of the Reborn. And so I like committing just the 1 damage ones and using minions to trade over the first half.
Okay, I agree, yeah.
Is he able to get it in? All the attacks? Okay, so he doesn't even commit the Power of the Wild, and honestly, yeah, seems good as well. But
I think he might have overdrawn one card at the end.
Correct. Disastrous if it is a dragon, but as far as the other cards left, I think he's drawn all of the juice in the deck.
Also, potentially, we could see Shadower Death on this turn to kill Waxadred and then that be overdrawn.
Oh.
But Shaxy almost certainly has more pressing issues to attend to.
For sure. So I think what looks like my first instinct is just to rip another Mazras and hope to get the Vargoth this time with 2 Cartoots. But honestly, that gets solved by AlliTeemu the same way, and then Shaxy's left just waiting for his Plague of Death.
It could be Breath of the Infinite, Penance, Waxadred, and then Infiltrator. You're probably alive with that play. And then you could save the Mass Resurrection for another turn.
Are you alive?
I think so, with the heal for 3 and the taunt.
Okay, and the taunt kills something.
Oh, he's going with a different line, okay.
Oh, he's also dead.
Interesting.
Well, between your suggestion and this one, which is just 1 card of difference,
yeah,
I quite like the Infiltrator because it goes into the Master's pool. That's probably the greatest outcome for AlliTeemu in terms of overdraw.
Well, I think you could actually make the argument that that's a reason to not go for the Infiltrator because you just want the highest chance to hit Vargoth as possible.
I don't know though, because if you just get Vargoth with Cartoots, AlliTeemu has shown that he's able to value trade things and leave you with the same board state, whereas the Infiltrator actually kills off his stuff. But it's hard to say because he hadn't seen AlliTemu's next wave, and it turns out it is there with the Mount Sellers and not more dragons.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't seen an Iron Beak Owl in a while off of this. I'm seeing a fair amount of Muklas, though. Crazy.
It's always the Mukla. I don't know how, but it always is. Oh my god.
Another one! What even is Hearthstone?
Oh, AlliTeemu.
GG. I feel like, okay. Mass Res, into Vargoth, Kartut is his best outcome. Okay, that's enough Kartuts to stop the GG for this turn, I think.
I think so too.
Oh! Gotta go back! Oh my goodness!
No!
Just take all the trades, Alutemu.
No!
Just kill the Vargoth. You'll be fine.
You gotta go now! You can't think!
What's that?
Ah!
See, at this time, can you kill the Vargoth? That's all that matters here, I think. So what does the Vargoth
It looks like you got the
do
Vargoth.
with only one Mass Res? I mean, sorry, both Mass Res left. Okay, he got his kill in. That was impressive.
And now it's on Shaxy as well.
Okay, Priest has far less things they can do. And he just... Isn't it just Kartu's Grave Runes here?
Dead, right?
Or... Oh, okay, Infiltrator Grave Runes also makes sense, because it actually kills stuff up. Yeah. Okay. So... Gotta go fast!
That eats up a big chunk of your time as well, all these animations being done. AlliTeemu who's going to have seconds to complete his turn.
Oh my god. Just kill off the Nosdormu and hope it dies from the, infiltrators, I guess.
What is even happening?
As long as he gets the attacks in, he's fine, right? He's absolutely fine. Oh, and that even dies before there's a chance for a Plague of Death to come down.
True, yeah.
So, I just don't see the outs for Shaxy here.
What a ridiculous game of Hearthstone. He can get Plague of Death.
Look at that! Soul Mirror?
Soul Mirror!
2 and Nosdormu.
Oh no, wait, this clears! The Shadow Word Ruin.
Oh my god. We tunneled on the Soul Mirror. Okay.
I'm out of cards.
So AlliTeemu needs to play one Waxadred at a time, right? Because of the threat of Plague of Death? Right? Because if he plays both his Waxadreds and Plague of Death comes off the top, he just loses, I think.
The thing is, the Waxadred doesn't even offset fatigue, right? Because it's a spell
it
that
has
you
to
draw
die.
in it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And when you draw the spell, it draws another.
Yeah.
So I actually think...
yeah.
Still, though, Plague of Death is a threat just because if you overextend into it, you might not have the pressure to close out the game. Oh my god, what is this? Nazari this turn makes sense because... No, actually he could wait for next turn and then just attack after the Nazari, right? But I guess he's worried about getting the 10 mana play out of the way.
I cannot believe that Plague of Ruin, or Shadow Word Ruin,
actually did that.
it actually won the game. Without that, he was just dead.
Is it one though? Because
I
he still
think
has
so.
to get to the Plague of Death at some point, right?
Does he?
How's he dealing with what Alutemu is going to play for the next 2 turns?
I mean, just by stalling. Just like playing Kartu next turn, Penance.
Okay. But there's 3 more dragons and a Savage Roar. If we're counting Shaxy's as off the top, yes, I can see it happening, that he stalls and wins in fatigue. But what if he just bricks in the next few turns? What are the bricks left? The other Breath of the Infinite and Holy Smite aren't that great.
Sure.
There's also, say, Grave Ruin if everything gets cleared in 1 turn.
Yeah.
What a game 1. Okay, I think that's why we saw him hold back on playing the other card too. Because he's thinking, what if this gets cleared and I draw Grave Ruin? Then I don't have anything to play it on. And Alutemu can clear everything easily with the Craig Netherwing. He's gotta do it, right?
Would it not be better to get the attack with the... to face with the Waxadred? Yeah, and you can use Hero Power and Bog Beam, or even Hero Power and Aeon Reaver actually.
Sure, yeah.
Oh no, wait, not in addition to the Crazed Netherwing. Sorry, no, not Aeon Reaver. But yeah, you could just go Crazed Netherwing. Wow, okay, fair enough.
I guess he's just saying, with this mana, let me develop the other Waxadred anyway. And
Yeah.
in that instance, he doesn't take the face damage from Kartut.
Sure.
Katrina. Okay, that is not a brick.
Our tombs. No treasure for your life.
Heat counter is ticking. The roar doesn't get. He might need it to kill the Katrina. Sorry, he could just go Aeon Reaver Bog Beam to kill Katrina. Wait,
Yep, true.
does Aeon Reaver need a dragon to activate? I forgot.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. So, just that. The question is whether he wants to face tag this 3 to make sure
I feel like he
that
should,
Shaxy
right?
takes the other 5.
He just wants to deal as much damage as possible, I think, to his opponent to set up lethal.
But with a Savage Roar in hand, I'm not sure if like the extra damage matters. But you could make the same argument that if you're dealing the lethal next turn, the extra damage to you doesn't matter.
Like, I feel like there's a
Head
chance
lyrics-
if they hit Penance and, I don't know, something else.
There's the Grave Rune. That's
Whoa!
Altemu's done it. What?
Wait, 14, 18, 23. It's easily lethal if he only clears up the Nazari.
And he's got nothing else to do.
Elysiana does nothing. Penance.
I wonder.
How has this gone so back and forth? How?
I don't know.
This was a ludicrous game of Hearthstone.
I can definitely agree with that description. And Shaxy knows it because the Savage Roar was never played
Yep.
until now. Crazy, absolutely crazy. And man, I can't say from either player whether that's played perfectly, but I don't expect anyone to play perfectly in this situation. That's the first time I've seen it pan out like this.
Yes, that's the first time I've seen that situation as well, Gia. And I dare say it's the first time the players will have seen that too.
I mean,
I think they...
that it just reaches fatigue in general is nothing I ever expect.
Right,
from
yeah.
that matchup.
At least, yeah, for the Druid side, I guess maybe a little bit more so when it's a slightly lighter package. But I think it was very well played by AlliTeemu overall. In his early turns, that was like, I think, well, it's kind of real 2 different phases. But if you remember way back to the early game, where he wasn't just throwing out his Glowfire willy-nilly, he was trying to give himself the highest possible chance of keeping it alive. And even back on turn 4, if Psychopomp hadn't been top decked, I think that would have just been GG on the spot. And Shaxy would have just lost that game without a shadow of a chance.
Right.
But
And then
he managed to
towards
turn
the
it around.
middle, Yeah, in the middle, we were calling it over and looking for Alutemu's best queue into Priest because he just had run out of threats. But then the Dragons, both Waxadreds, I think, were necessary to win that game.
It looked like it, yeah.
Would not have gotten there. And then it looked like after the Nosdormu play, or generation, that, I mean, he seemed very far ahead, and the Shadow Word Druid, and oh my god, Dara, what a game. It's just the first in the series.
What a game. And it does mean that we are not going to be seeing the Priest again. Last hero standing, it is out of here. So the Druid gets another queue up for AlliTeemu. The best counter, I suppose, that Shaxy would have available, given that his Warrior has been banned, Priest is lost. It's a Mirror or a Rogue. Is he going to just have to give it his best shot with the Mirror?
That's a terrible feeling, but I would take the Mirror over playing Rogue, because I feel like Rogue is just straight unfavored, especially with the non-Highlander version. You don't have Zephyrus, you don't have the possibility of Waste Warden. So it is unfortunately going to have to be a Druid Mirror.
It definitely looks like it. We don't have official word yet, and we will find out what Shaxy is going to queue up into the Druid from AlliTeemu right after this quick break before we find the conclusion to this series.
Hello everybody, I'm here with the 3 Japanese representatives for Asia Pacific Grandmasters, Alutemu, Glory, and Possessi. And we're going to play a little game. Here I have 3 blindfolds. If you guys could go ahead and put those on. All the way over your eyes. So you guys can't see anything, right?
見えません。何も見えないです。
All right, I'm going to need a few minutes, so if you guys don't mind just waiting here, I'll be back in just a few moments, okay?
はい。待っててって。
They put me in charge of Grandmasters. I bought the blindfolds, I don't have an idea. I bought the blindfolds and I don't have an idea.
これパブこれどこに売ってんねやろなこういうの。
Sado! Yes, Sado! I have 3 Japanese players blindfolded in that room. I need an idea. What can I do?
This is your bit, TJ. We told you this wouldn't work.
TJ 遅いな。
遅いな。結構大掛かりなもの持ってきたりしてるのが。
Vaseline? Paper tea set. Banana trophies? Who bought banana trophies? The rubber chicken. The rubber chicken.
助けて TJ。
助けてきて。
I can make this work. I can make this work. Check us out. All right, you guys can go ahead and remove your blindfolds.
お。ギャ
You
ン。
can take them off.
あ、取って OK 取って OK。
Congratulations. You guys have won.
どういうことや。
終わり?
We are back with Hearthstone Grandmasters, Hearthstone's premier esports format, where if you're new to joining us here, 48 of the best players in the world from 3 different regions in Europe, Americas, and Asia Pacific are all joined together, fighting it out to see who at the end of our season can join us at the global finals. We're pretty close to the start here, just in week 2, so it's the perfect time to jump in. And here in Asia Pacific, we are finding out who is going to get the most points here in our second week of Swiss. And in this particular series, we are in a losers bracket match between Alutemu and Shaxy. Whoever loses, unfortunately, will be knocked out for this week and have to give it another go next week. But the winner will be in with a chance playing up against Glory in the following series. I believe it is 1-0 now, as we can see there, to Shaxy. To Alutemu after Shaxy lost with the Priest. And we're kind of left a little bit confused as to what the counter should be here, right, Gia?
I wouldn't say confused because there is a straight counter. We're just a little bit, I guess, crestfallen that it has to be a Druid mirror, and that's the best matchup that Shaxy has available, because he did take an unexpected towards the middle, lost to the Priest.
Yes.
In an absolute banger of a match, I would say.
So this matchup, I think, we know historically, at least before the nerf to Kael'thas, that the 2 things you were trying to do was, number 1, get the first Glowfly swarm down, or number 2, get the most disgusting Kael'thas turn you possibly could. But now that AlliTeemu doesn't have Kael'thas in his deck, and for Shaxy his costs 7, what do you think, if anything, may have changed about this matchup, Gia?
I mean, I honestly don't think it relied on Kael'thas in the mirror as much as you would expect. I think it's very much about who gets the Glowfly first, and whether the other Druid is running Starfall, and we can see from both lists that they're not, which makes sense in LHS. You're not trying to hedge in a certain matchup. If you're bringing Druid, it's to target things that can't deal with wide boards. Fortunately, though, neither player has a Glowfly so far. The player with the 7, which is Shaxy, hasn't hit the ramp, so both of the players are just missing things to do what they want to do.
They've both got half of the puzzle. If only they could unite forces and defeat the greater evil of, I don't know, Demon Hunter or something, they'd be the unstoppable duo.
For real. With our powers combined, we can build a board?
Ooh.
Okay, there you go. Alutemu has decided to forego any type of collusion and just go for Glowfly, Power of the Wild.
It has to be correct, right? Even though you're only getting 5, you just get them on the board. As to buffing them up, there is no there's no Starfall, so the chances of all of these dying is incredibly low. But I guess you're not going to get a better Power of the Wild later on anyway, so yeah.
I also really like committing the Bog Beam there. I think the thinking with the Power of the Wild is that you're almost certainly going for a Savage Roar turn this turn. It opens up mana in case you draw something else, I suppose. And maybe more importantly is that it removes 1 breakpoint for removal, which is exactly Crystal Power. Of course, it doesn't change anything about Wrath Bog Beam. But...
and I suppose Moonfire Hero Power as well. So change the equation. But I actually think, despite that, this is still looking really quite close. Shaxy has the Mount Sellers, which come turn 7, probably will just run away with the game, unless Alutemu can find some card draw. That is an insane card to get off the top.
It really is. I mean, I was about to say, oh no! And those are hella
Oh no!
What? I was about to say it looked really good for Shaxy there because he actually had the handful of removal to deal with this. Then Alutemu got the Fungal Fortunes, but then the Fungal Fortunes didn't do anything. So is it now just Shaxy's game again?
What idiots we were 5 seconds ago. We knew nothing of how this would shake out. He's got a cycle, right?
Yes.
Just to try and get the overflow for next turn? Or the Mount Seller?
Yeah. Or Ysera?
Ysera too, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't see him. I don't see the benefit in floating mana. Gotta be this.
Okay. Probably just throw that down as well here, right? And try and push for lethal next turn?
Yes, I like that. Feels weird, but the 4 health on 2 of the minions at least is the Bog Beam breakpoint. So for Shaxy, does he just go for... Oh man.
Vey Overflow.
Yeah.
So how much damage can AlliTeemu do? He can quite handily deliver lethal with Savage Roar. If Bog Beam comes down this turn, then that's 8 plus 6 plus 1, so not lethal.
Worth noting that there's 2 roars in the deck, but it's asking a lot for AlliTeemu to have. I think I like the overflow, yeah.
I mean, the play could be, if you want to be really risky, just innovate Mount Seller to try and give you the best Mount Seller turn possible next turn. Yeah.
And also, it just lines up well on the board.
Yeah.
You know, the more I look at it, the less I hate it. But I feel like this play just... Oh, the draw, Derek! Sarah off the top for AlliTeemu is absolutely insane. Maybe not right away, because it will put the deck up to 23 cards, so it's just like roughly 1 in 3 to draw a dragon each time. But at least it's something he needed to do.
It's really good. It is, obviously, but is it the right kind of good card? You know, I mean, I guess the body as well is something that can't be overstated, of how good it is here to just keep something on the board to go for Savage Roar. But Shaxy is going to absolutely pop off on this next turn.
He will. But there is a world where, say, he misses out on taunts and rushes, and then AlliTeemu just needs to get through the taunt of the Mount Seller. Wait, he doesn't... Oh, he does. He has 1 Iron Bark. So in that world, I think playing a minion is better than catching in a Savage Roar. Probably not enough, but it's definitely one of the top 3 cards he could have drawn.
Yes, yeah. Definitely helps him out a lot. But now for Shaxy, this is what we've all been waiting for. Let's see what's for sale.
Dread Raven, not the greatest, not the worst.
An accurate description of Raven.
And he gets 2 more rolls. I don't see any merit in holding off using the Bog Beam, even though it doesn't kill anything immediately.
Save it for next turn with the second Mount Seller, but I agree. I think I'd rather just play it now.
I guess he's debating where to target it, and I think I'd be inclined to put it on you, Sarah.
Really? What if you get a rush? You could get...
Oh, I guess exactly Zixor, right?
Zixor,
because I was thinking that the other rush has 4 attack anyway.
True, yeah. That's not bad.
And just Iron Bark on the Mount Seller.
I mean, if he doesn't, he's dead, as it currently stands with Savage Roar.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Bit of synergy. Oh, Portal, okay. Only dragon with Rush is the Evasive Worm, right? So he can get Beasts with Rush, and he has the mana to play everything this turn.
I can't believe that your first instinct was, oh great, he can get lethal with Mount Seller. You're so greedy.
Well...
I mean, I guess that is his best chance of winning.
Right? Because if he just trades everything... Well, I don't know. He could still end up ahead depending on what the Mount Seller gives.
I supply only the finest creatures.
So yes, starting with Innervate makes a lot of sense. That's not a good one.
Yikes.
So what about playing the Roar first?
Well, you got to bear in mind that Crystal Power has plus spell damage now, right? So...
Yeah, but the thing is, you want to play Roar and then trade, right? And then after the Roar, you'll have a full board. So the Roar gotta happen now. Oh, there's a rush!
A 6-attack Griffin!
Wait, that's lethal, right? Wait, on the taunt!
That's lethal! That's lethal!
Wait, he's pointing at the Raven!
No!
Oh wait, he still has it.
He still has lethal!
It was just BM, What?
Perfect play by AlliTeemu for the win there. Unbelievable against all the odds.
Dude,
He gets.
I can't believe you were looking for lethal with this answer.
I can't believe he's done this.
Oh my god. What? It's always lethal, Dara. Of course it is.
Clearly, I need to get into the mindset of a pro player like AlliTeemu or you, because I did not see that coming in a million years.
I just was shocked by the BM, or if he just genuinely didn't see that crystal power. Because Alutemu looks like the nicest person on the planet. Like, he wouldn't hurt a fly. And, you know, he whistled since his childhood, and he was happy to demonstrate a whistling for us. But all he's doing now is absolutely ripping on Shaxy. Could be taking a sweep here.
He could be indeed. This Druid deck is looking very, very nice. I like the look of it a lot. The Ysera at the top is, game after game, looking very strong. It's still obviously a relatively small sample size, but with last week from Rivius, this week from Glory and AlliTeemu, I'm thinking it's a very, very good card to try, at least, including in the Druid. And now with only the Druid left, it would have to be a reverse sweep from the Rogue from Shaxy on both Druid, Rogue Mirror, and Warrior. I'm not seeing it. I've got to be honest.
I mean, just the first boss of the Druid, you already look like it's not going to happen. But even if he manages to pull out some type of miracle, we have seen it from Rogue versus Druid a bunch of times. Either the Druid isn't able to get the glowflies, or maybe Rogue just curves out pretty well. But after that, running into a Warrior doesn't seem like a very tantalizing prospect.
Yes, I feel like the Rogue definitely has some tricks up its sleeve against Warrior. I mean, obviously, first of all, we know it's going to be the Druid. In Last Terrastani, you have to queue the deck you just played, so we'll have to get through that first. But if we do end up getting to the Warrior, I think the Rogue has some stuff it can do. It's not like the some of the matchups for Warrior previously, where Rogue was a full-on aggro deck and the Warrior was just controlling them and seemed to win all the time. Now I feel like Rogue has the more value, arguably, but Warrior is trying to get onto the board a little bit more. But Jack Stunners and Eviscerates and all that nonsense, maybe you can get there.
Indeed. And so, the best way to get there, does that involve just keeping something that is decent, but maybe not uber aggressive, like, say, Hanar into Praise Galakron? I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either. I guess, I mean, well, the best chance, again, in this version of the deck that doesn't run Zephyrus is, I think, just a good old Edwin right at the start of the game that Druid cannot answer. But I don't think you're mulliganing some of your best cards in the start to look specifically for that. So I like this start a lot.
For Alutemu's side, the Wild Growth, which is not a universal inclusion in Druid, but something that the Japanese players do seem to be very confident in having at least one copy of.
Yeah.
Seems like it's always capped. Wow, for specifically Glowfly as early as possible. Although he has drawn one minion, so maybe it won't summon that many flies, but remains to be seen.
Yeah, probably holding off on the Glowfly. I was going to say I really like holding on to the Mount Seller in your starting hand with the Wild Growth. I was considering if he should hold on to the Bog Beam, given that he should be able to ramp to it fairly quickly. But I guess that's a little bit too much of a kind of solitaire game plan focus to go for. You want to have some reactivity to what Rogue is throwing down.
Mm-hmm. Although I'd make the same argument for holding Mount Seller for that long. Just, it's active the same time Bog Beam is 0 mana.
But I think the difference is that, like, so much of your deck does the Bog Beam style thing of clearing the board, whereas Exotic Mount Seller, there's only 2 of them in the deck, so you kind of need to find it as soon as possible.
Alright, so the Ethereal Lackey actually discovers a secret for Shaxy. So, but what a draw for Alutemu. I think you hold off on this turn, though. Just go for the ramp.
Yeah.
That's what he kept it for. Yeah.
I agree. Because if there was something you really wanted to kill on 2 health, then you could go Crystal Power as well. But given that there's not, I'm a fan of just the Wild Growth.
So for Shaxy, there are some secrets that could just make things very complicated for Alutemu. I'm thinking Explosive Trap. I'm thinking Flame Ward. There's a Flame Ward, but would you forgo being able to play the Paladin Secret immediately? He says, no, I agree. And I don't see the leftmost one. I like the look of just Ambush, because the other 2 rely on Alutemu playing a minion, which probably won't happen for a while. He's going to play
Yes.
spells.
Well, they all rely on
Wait, so
minions.
oh wait,
Yeah.
oh my god, my mistake.
I think I still prefer
Bamboozled
ambush.
Yeah.
I mean, the first minion they're going to play is likely Exotic Mount Seller, for which actually, I mean, maybe Mirror Entity is good for that reason, because it's like the most impactful thing about it. They're already playing big minions in their deck. But I think Snipe was the worst of them, basically.
Yeah, I would agree. The argument for ambush, I guess, is that it's just cheaper to play on the following turn. So he could then go 2 mana secret into 2 mana secret instead of locking himself into mage secret into paladin secret. But I guess that kind of locks him into a hunter secret. I don't know. It depends. So Glowfly here, 4 minions.
What to do?
Yeah.
Not good enough, right?
Yeah, I prefer drawing. I mean, you can go double crystal power, right? If you wanted to take out the Hanar.
It's strange because Hanar generates so much value, but not much pressure at all.
Yeah.
That I feel like he had the leeway to go for the draw there. Because now I feel like Shaxy will get value out of being able to answer the board instead of preemptively playing secrets. All things considered, the turn's looking really strong, especially if he gets Kobold Lackey or Rush Lackey.
Oh, up to no good? Me too.
Yeah, that's the one.
Very strong indeed. Probably don't bother shadow stepping. I'm going to say here. I think there's better. Okay, actually, what I was going to say is you don't bother shadow stepping and playing it again. You could consider shadow stepping the Kobold Lackey and keeping it in hand to go for a turn 6 Togwaggle with a guaranteed Lackey. Which I don't know. It doesn't seem bad.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Shaxy seems to agree as well.
Oh no, he wants to play it again.
Alutemu.
Okay.
The only secret that he's tested for is never surrender, I think.
By playing a spell, sure. Oof.
Oh, bye, Sarah. Probably not too relevant in this matchup, but
I don't know. I think that could have been a pretty big card to find in this matchup, to be honest.
alright. In the late game, sure.
Yes,
but I
yeah.
feel like Alutemu's problems are much more immediate than that.
That's fair.
So, Crystal Power to finally try and deal with Hanar. Just hoping it's not Redemption, but even if it is, he has the other Crystal Power. But man, that seems so expensive because he's going into a Mount Seller turn. Maybe you just leave it up.
He can just chill now. Yeah, I think that's not so bad, right? Because you can go with the Vate on on the next turn, sorry. And
Right.
if on turn 5 he's developing secrets instead of Shield of Galakrond or a Faceless Corruptor, I'd be really happy.
True enough. Now we can see from Shaxy, he's held on to that ambush for specifically this turn. The turn 7 from Druid, so I expect to see that coming down now.
Yeah.
But the rest of the turn looks really bad, if that's the play. Maybe he just goes for the biggest body.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would be pretty surprised to see anything other than Shield of Galakrond on this turn, right?
I mean, ambush just... I guess you're asking for a lot. You're asking for it to not get immediately cleared by a Bog Beam.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But if it manages to stick, it is just so convenient to deal with the Mount Seller, whereas he has hardly any power on board.
I guess, yeah.
It's really difficult.
Do you know they have a Mount Seller? You can probably make a pretty good guess that they're Mount Seller, actually.
Choose soon.
I mean, it was a kept card with Wild Growth, so he's expecting probably Overflow or Mount Seller,
Yeah.
in which case playing both secrets would account for both, I suppose. but then yeah, it's just too easy to kill off the 2/3 with Bog Beam. So time to pop off.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it on this turn.
Ooh, he's looking at waiting because I mean he did use the Crystal Power last turn, so it's only 2 spells that.
Oh
he
yeah,
plays,
of course.
Not to mention the Innervate floats a mana.
This is just why I didn't like going for the play he went for of going for the second Crystal Power. I just think Hanar was not that bad there. And now it's so much worse of a Mount Seller turn.
What to do?
I tend to agree, but maybe Alutemu is just very worried about potential explosive
Fair.
/ Flame Ward.
Yeah.
Or even a mirror entity going into his Mount Seller turn.
Also a good point. It's definitely not cut and dry. Just my feelings, Gia, which are valid, by the way.
Everyone's feelings are valid.
True.
Okay, so Alitemu's taken kind of a halfway play, which I can get behind because now he has double Innervate with Mount Seller, Rising Winds, Iron Bark, so it's still board into board, which is the most important thing to do in this matchup.
I thought
I'm a little surprised to not see a Tog actually.
It's interesting that board into board is both Druid speciality and also Priest speciality, but just slightly different meanings of the word.
I mean, I get the wordplay, but I'm also thinking of Vargoth into Master Resurrect. That's board.
Quiet, Gia. I'm being witty.
I didn't correct you or anything. There's
Sorry, Gia.
several ways you can interpret it, or Priest specifically.
So what you're saying is I'm even cleverer.
I'm gonna ignore that. What do you think about not playing Tog there?
Well, clearly it's about trying to clear up as much of the board as possible, right? Which I think does make sense, given that Shaxy still has access to like Galakron next turn, or just a potential Togwaggle next turn.
Yeah, and given that the turn actually ends with taunting a big minion, I don't hate it. So
Okay, a
Aurora
load of
for some clears.
pretty mediocre beasts so far.
Wait till you see this diving griffin, though. Alutemu is really good at getting those. Is it worth using the Iron Bark on something else, perhaps, given that Rogue likes to clear one minion at a time?
I mean,
Say
I'm wondering if
Blackjack
it's
turn.
worth saving to go for the second Mount Seller, but I guess you're probably going for Overflow next turn anyway.
Right.
So, sure.
Yeah, it seems like he's choosing literally anything but the Mount Seller, so...
Yeah. Oh my god, Gia. You are a wizard. You're an actual wizard.
Yeah, called it last time, call it this time. It's gonna have to be a pretty great Galakron to get things done. Just the Tog on its own is way too slow, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's just one invoke away from the full Galakron, which really feels awful. But, you know, if we can see
Wait till you see those
Galakron...
Kronks, though.
Yeah, exactly. Kronks plus Eviscerate or whatever. Maybe.
And we did say that we eventually landed on agreeing about the board clear plan from Shaxy, but at that point, the reason I was looking at Tog is that it kind of gets stranded in hand. It's not played that turn.
Yes.
Maybe it's a bit caster vision-y because we knew exactly what was coming on the following turn for AlliTeemu, which was the Mount Seller board. But yeah, seems like Tog would take a while to get active now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If you play Togwaggle the previous turn when he could have played it, you still leave a big board from your opponent, and the things that you're drawing aren't anything that answers the big board, because even if you get Kronks, you only have 4 mana left, so you can't play the Galakron in your hand.
It's true.
So I don't know. I agree it was close, but yeah, I think, like you said, I still think Shaxy probably made the right choice.
It's like that board state was mostly glowflies. I think he could have cleared 2 on board and left 5.
Right. Okay.
So a bit scary, but say he gets Togged and then wand into Flick.
Maybe. Yeah. That's very fair.
But I can also see going for this way where you go Galakron into Crocs. It just takes 1 turn of setup into a good draw, no matter which way you slice it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And that's a roar. Not quite lethal yet, but
Good selection of cards there.
for sure.
Trade away the 3-1 just because you can and then make more room. But maybe it would just be more valuable sending it face.
Yeah, I don't mind just using a Wrath for 3 damage on the Pharaoh Cat.
Time waits for no one.
That's the one that overdraws.
I think it was actually a non-twin spell version, so it puts you
Oh,
at
is it? Okay.
exactly 9 cards. Yeah.
Never mind. So he is trading off to make more
Oh, okay.
space.
Sure. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, clearing
Don't
the
hate it.
Lackey definitely seems better than clearing the Cat. And that's a good card, but not enough.
He could go Kobold Lackey, Secret, bounce his own Kobold Lackey back to hand, and play it
love
again.
For 3 mana.
Oh. Now that's what I call Hearthstone.
For real though, is there anything he can do? Is there, if you could generate a spell Lackey and get Betrayal with these poisons? Is that good?
Okay.
I'm racking my brain here, Derek. Don't just laugh at me. Provide
That's
a
my job,
better
man.
solution.
I'm the host now, you're the analyst. I just get to sit back and laugh.
Alright.
As I'm sure Alutemu will as well. Moving up 3 games to 0, who will go on to face Glory in the decider match. Commiserations to Shaxy. I think he, despite going 0-2, sorry, I think put up a very good fight and is definitely one of the better Asia Pacific Grandmasters in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he put up a very good fight. And the Bring of the Priest, I do laud, even though it didn't quite pan out for him in that particular series. And despite him not making it to Sunday, he will still walk away with 3 points. Definitely very important when half the field are only getting 1 or 2 points.
It's a big difference indeed, especially as if he can get through to the top 4 maybe in the final week, he should be in a very good spot. With Shaxy out of the way now, it does mean that we are left with a pretty interesting matchup yet again. We had it just a little bit earlier today between AlliTeemu and Glory, and now it is the rematch. Once again, these are the 2, or last year, they were the 2 Japanese Grandmasters. Big-time practice partners. They very often came with the exact same deck lists. They're now joined by Possessi as well this year, who I think also seems to be sharing a lot of the same deck lists and strategies with Glory and AlliTeemu. But I think they always come with something a little bit interesting and a little bit different to the rest of the field, which I love watching.
Definitely. And when you stack them up against each other, it's not like it's 120 cards the same. There's still a little difference in, I guess, their takes on Warrior, although if any indication comes from the last game, those will be banned again. And there's also slight differences in their Demon Hunter builds. And I think the most important difference, I guess, is just in the polish of their play. Of course, Glory is a very, very skilled and talented player, but in that first series between him and AlliTeemu, we did manage to see a couple slip-ups, just some small sloppy things that he, I hope, will tidy up for this time.
I agree, and I think it's something that, like I said, despite the fact that AlliTeemu finished better than Glory Season 1 and then the other way around to Series 2, it was a lot closer in Series 2, and I feel like consistently AlliTeemu has been just a little bit better in terms of or more consistent, I should say, in terms of the players. When they're both playing at their best, it feels pretty much indistinguishable. But Glory definitely playing second fiddle for the most part, it feels like. But this feels like one of the best chances he has to prove he is just as good, if not better, than AlliTeemu by taking another victory against him here. And like you said, cleaning up his play along the way.
Definitely. So what do you think will be the first mirror we're going to see from them? Actually, I don't even know if we actually ended on mirrors in that match, because I think one player queued Druid first, and another queued Demon Hunter first.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it was a mirror in terms of bans, but not in terms of first queues. If I had to guess, I think I would say it's going to end up on a Demon Hunter ban, despite Demon Hunter mirror, despite it not being last time. If you had to guess quickly, what would it be, Gia?
I actually want to see a Rogue Mirror. It's been a while, but those
That
are
sounds
really
good too.
swingy.
Yeah, I want one of them. But before we can get into that, no matter what it may be, we're going to go to a quick break to give AlliTeemu some time to prepare after his quick match against Shaxy just now. So we'll be right back for the final series of the